special meeting of the board to order. And let me give the invitation. Oh, Brenda, we'll just wait 2 seconds for Brenda.
Hi.
You're right in time, Brenda.
How are you?
Let's pray. Our Father, we just come to you tonight and ask for wisdom and discernment for the decisions and actions that are taken by this board. Pray, Father, that you just be with each and every person that is involved with this organization of the hospital, the district. Lord, that you be with the leaders, the administrators, the nurses, the technicians, the doctors, the patients, Father. I pray that you would just favor us with just growing the quality of health care, the type of health care, the access to health care in this community. And Lord, may we be a part of that. So we thank you now for what you're just going to do with us tonight, and I pray that in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so our first order of business here in action is a consider and approve the amendment to the budget for additional IGT funding. We came before the board last month where there was one that was kind of given to us but it was still within the budget, and we talked about that. But I'd like to have Tom go through this as to what this really means here on this additional, what we have to talk to the board about, this additional IGT funding and what that means.
Christy, you want to pull that up for me so
Yes,
everybody
sir.
can see? Thank you. So, in a rarity, what caused this discussion in the first place is the state said, we have more money for you, which never happens. But this top section here, right there, all that is the total of the IGTs or the intergovernmental transfers that was approved at the last, I think it was the May meeting actually, and the total of 4.1 million for the total IGTs. So the changes were, I've dropped it down here. So in June, there was extra IGT that came through. That's the one the state said, hey, there's an additional $266,000 out there. If anything that the district sends up as an IGT, because they're the governmental body that has to do that, because we can't do that as a not-for-profit. It has to be a governmental entity, which is the board serves that purpose. They said anytime we send that up, it comes back in the factor of 2.39. So that's just money that would have been left on the table. But the reason that didn't have to give approval at that point is because even with that, that number that was total approval was still under the number that you had approved at 4.1. There was also another small change I highlighted just to kind of tell you how we're never 100% sure what the numbers are going to be. Is the one in July we had projected coming in at 523. It actually came in at 457. So there's always, until the state actually gives you the number, you never know exactly what that number is going to be. So here's the purpose for bringing this before you now. So we've been given more recent updates from the state, and what they've said is the number, the big number we've been talking about that's been coming in September, that'll be returned to us at 2.39 times. We were projecting up here at 1.980. Well, they kind of gave us a range. Your low range is 1.3 now. It could go as low as that. The expected range that we're expecting, that these numbers are here, are right there, 1.963. So it's actually a little bit less than what we projected. Or the crazy numbers say that all the other companies or the hospitals are out there, they don't put their money up, and that there's a ton of money out there to be had, is, which nobody should do that, it would make sense, is the 2.5. So what that amounts to is this number, if it comes in 1.3, that's the number that is less than what we approved up here. If it comes in now what we're expecting at 1.9, we would need approval for the additional 184,000 in addition to what was approved here. And if what I'm asking for, because it doesn't make sense to leave money on the table, is approval. We don't think it's going to be that way because, like I said, all these other hospitals would have to say we don't want the free money. Is up to 5.81 more than it was approved. Like I said, if this is just here to say, if it dropped to 1.3, lower than what we were expecting, we would see a return on that less of 1.1. If it comes in where we're expecting, it would be a return of 440,000 or more. And if that crazy number came in, it would be 1.4 is the return. So I'm just asking for the approval to change the cap on what we approve for IGT funding. Because like I said, the more you put in, you're going to get the 2.39 multiplier back. So there's no question of, you know, if you don't get it back, it's just this board had approved at the time when it was presented to you the 4.1.
And again, Tom, they let you know sometimes as short as 3 days before.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it comes out.
Days before you go.
Yes, so the range that we have out there right now is before you, as low as the 1.304, and like I said, that crazy high number that we don't expect to get to it, at 2.56. But the formula they work on until the last minute.
And you're just saying you'd like that 581 to have dry powder if it did come in?
Correct. I mean, it would make no sense. It would be like somebody was offering you free money in your 401k and you didn't put the money in to match it.
Tom, will GCH be putting any of this money up?
Say that again?
Will GCH be?
Yeah, like I explained before, the only person that can put this money up in any kind of IGT is a governmental entity. And the hospital district is the governmental entity. That's the way the lease was written, is to fund this.
And who gets these funds when they come back?
It comes back to the hospital.
The hospital?
Yes.
And since we're the Gainesville Hospital District, we put it up and it comes back to NTMC?
And when it comes back to the hospital, it hits our EBITDA line. Or it hits our what we put in our back pocket, the number, you know, like what you would put in the bank. As you remember, the first $2.5 million of anything before we can put it in our pocket goes back to the hospital district.
But we done spent 4.104,358.
You know, right now, the number has been that, which is 200 and something thousand, or I mean 2 million and something.
Do what now?
Right now, you haven't spent, this number has not come through yet. So the only thing that the district.
Where are we at?
You're at 2 million, whatever this totals up, I think it's 2.3 million from that top number to this number.
So we spend $2.3 million and NTMC gets the money, correct?
Which, no, the district gets the first $2.5 million of profit that we make.
That's
we
that
can
one.
And then we'll split everything.
And then there's a split of 50% above that.
So what Jim told us back in March was that $2.5 million we're getting back is going to be this IGT right here.
No, from what I remember, and it's in the minutes, there was from prior time, it was a show you in the 4.1, and all the funds that go back from the district, or from the hospital back to the district, there was a difference of about $11,000 to be expected. When it all shook out with rent, distributions, and all that came back. Like I said, it should be in the minutes.
Well, here's my problem is, we started out back in November or somewhere along in there with $7 or close to $8 million in our bank, in our general fund.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's down to 5, and we keep funding things. We're going backwards fast.
So Jimmy, I'm pretty sure, yeah, so at the last meeting, in this May meeting, it was put on the board, and everybody agreed that,
Not everybody agreed.
I apologize, the board voted
There you go.
to approve the number of the 4.1, because I think, like I said, there was the difference between what will eventually come back to the district and the IGT funds was like $11,000. And like I said, I'm not Shelley, and I apologize, she's out, she's had a scheduled vacation, we didn't know this meeting was going to be called. She'll be back Thursday, but to break down of what that would represent moving forward. But the district benefits, the more money that comes back, that goes out, comes back, and it goes, and a part of that does go back to the district.
A part of it does, but
Yes.
here's my problem is, when you look how much money we've already went backwards since we started this lease.
Yes, sir.
How long before we have to file bankruptcy as a district? How long before we don't have any money in our fund?
Once again, the projection that was out there, and like I said, it's in the minutes,
I
showed
know
a
what
balance.
the projection was, but the facts are the facts. When you look what was in our general fund and what's there now, we're going backwards fast.
I think that there was the distribution that the district gave us out, which was part of that was built into the lease, the up to $3 million, which we only used 1.2, was a big chunk of that. It was agreed, we knew going into it that was gonna be there, or that there's a possibility that we might
We'd
need
just
some
be that
funds.
much broker in our general fund if y'all would've used more.
But we did not.
I understand.
We're operating, we're ahead 2 or 3 months ahead of schedule.
So
We're doing
it
well.
could be worse.
Yes, and we are moving forward, and we do not intend, and the plan is obviously not to deplete the funds. It makes no sense.
That's where we're going though.
We will not.
Well, it's gonna ebb and flow throughout the year. It's
Correct.
always gonna be. And that's why we had asked you guys to put the projection in May,
Correct.
which was to show that in the course of a year, we have a break-even situation. Last thing I wanna do is we're here to fund healthcare in this community, so it makes no sense to me to put up the cash and not get double your money back. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. That 1.4, if it happens to go to fruition, goes straight to the revenue line for the hospital, GCH. And then through profits, we get the 2.5 back, we get the rent money, and we get 50% of the profits after that. So
Correct.
in the end, it comes back to us, it just ebbs and flows throughout the year, which is what we all went through and understood back in May. So I don't want to rehash everything we already talked about, but we've understood that point, that if we put the money up, you get 2.39 back, which makes no sense not to do. As long as, and we've made a pretty good point, and you guys understand that,
Yes.
that in the course of that time, yes, it can ebb and flow, but we do want to make sure our cash maintains.
Correct.
So that's that, and Jimmy brings up a very good point. Yes, we want it to maintain, but that doesn't mean 1 month is down and 1 month is up. So
We
as
haven't
long as we
seen
continue
no up.
that.
All we've seen is going down, and it's continuing a downward spiral. And the last thing I wanna see is this district deplete the funds, and that's exactly what we have done since we leased it. Whenever we leased this thing, you guys, the executive board, and the lawyers, and Jim Kendricks, everybody said, all of our bills are over. We won't have no more bills. And you know, when I look how much money has gone out of our general fund, our bills ain't stopped. And it ain't stopping, because you guys are asking for more again.
So Tom,
And I understand if you can spend 500,000 and get $1 million back, that's a good deal. The only problem is we're depleting the district's funds. That's the problem.
so almost one way to look at it, potentially, if all things hold true, is we'll give the 581 above. Obviously, the benefit over there is gonna be 139. If that all hit the bottom line, after the 2.5, half that number could potentially roll right back,
It does. It's
which would be more than the 581 we put in. I see your concern, Jimmy, and I know that we're out front of this thing, but if the hospital keeps on the good path that it's been, keeps producing the numbers, this
spending
cash
more.
hits, we've got money on
This
the.
district is spending a lot more money than what we have coming in. We have a potential, maybe that some might come back, but so far, you guys have voted and spent more money than what we have coming in. And we're going the wrong way.
So I would, my
And I know,
honest
like you,
opinion,
Shane, you said you was gonna make enough money. You said it several times that you was gonna make enough money at this lease, that you was gonna make money to pay on bonds. And
that's
how you
a
gonna do that?
multi-year deal,
How
so
you
let's
gonna
not
do
shorten
that?
that up into the year one. That was something we're talking 5 years down the road, so don't think I forgot that. But I will tell
got
you
it.
that if you'll let this ebb and flow, and we watch this between now and Christmas, I think you'll see that cash roll back in.
So Jolene, I'm gonna ask Jolene, when do we expect that the distribution to come back for,
The final September distribution?
Yes.
We put up the IGT the first part of September and it comes back anywhere from 21 to 25 days later.
so
But
it'll,
the district, the hospital doesn't pay back the district until quarterly
Right.
earnings have been captured and tabulated and gone through the MOR. You
So-
did receive one payment of $625,000 in the form of a check, and it was deposited into the operating fund per Andy and Shane and Jeff's request. That's where they wanted it deposited.
so that,
June. June,
so it
end
was
of June.
on the quarter, it's kind of goofy because our lease is not on the, what you would consider your traditional quarters, we're a month off of that. So we had that distribution June 25. We're on pace with the current quarter that we're in. When this book wraps up, we expect that to be another benefit, another positive EBITDA to that 625. And for sure, when those dollars hit, it will definitely push us over that number. So, over the,
So let me ask you this,
Yeah.
this $2.5 million that you guys are gonna pay us, is this 625 over and above that?
no, it's total, so remember the lease, it's 2.5 million a year, broken down quarterly. You know, so, yeah, so we pay you quarterly, so that's,
So that's part of it, it's not gonna be that
so
much
it's
above.
2.5,
Yeah.
and then you get roughly, it'd be 600,000, 50 a quarter, or 50 a month for rent.
That's gone too. You
What-
guys are
so-
getting that back.
I'm just saying, I'm building it up there. And then anything above the 2.5 is, half of it goes to the district. So,
You know, Jim told us back May, whatever.
yeah,
That come September, in this budget, we would have 2.5 million coming.
are we at the end of September, Ken?
No, we're not, but we still got
Well,
30.
that's part of this
4
cash.
days.
That's part of this cash.
So you are gonna lay $2.5 million on our bank account come September the 31st.
When we reach the 2.5, which that should get us there. Yeah.
You have to remember, the lease year is on a different calendar than the hospital fiscal year and the district fiscal year. All three of you have different years. I have to keep track of 3 years now.
So I'm just going by what Jim gave us on the handout, and it's showing September this year, 2019.
So when the funds come back from the district and they close, they have to close.
And I'm not worried about the lease payment, 600,000. I got to see the 2.5 million that we've been promised.
It's not the end of September, Ken, so I can't pull it out of my pocket, you know.
I say you got 34 or 5 days left.
Robert, do you have any comments to add to that?
Andy, I think I was on mute, I didn't hear any of that. I texted Christie, so.
Okay, and as, we're having a discussion on the IGT funds, and, there's, obviously, we're in that first year of paying down on IGT and, getting some back, and I know there's a lot of it built on what the success of the hospital, but, any comments from that?
No, I mean, I think other than, I think if anything, I mean, this is, from my understanding, just the update of the budget. I mean, when the time comes, there's still consideration as to whether you're gonna pay everything that's been budgeted.
Right. Yeah, that's right, we've got to make a decision. Okay. So, this, again, here we're sitting in this kind of a situation where we put out funds, but I would hope that the board also remembers that everything that we do, what we're hoping for is a neutral budget, getting back and putting out into healthcare, getting back and putting into healthcare. That's the best thing that we can do. When we had the control of the hospital, we under different management, we were doing, that we were starting to get back up again. But the hospital has been down for a long time. A lot of creditors, a lot of bills that needed to be paid. But at the same time, now
We had money in the bank.
we still have money.
It wasn't going backwards, it was going better.
Well, I'm talking about like for the last couple of years, it's actually has been going better. Yeah, it has been going better, but it's, when you change over, it's not going bad. We just gotta realize, these guys have been take over from December, they're not even finished the 1 year.
Now we're
mark
going
yet.
backwards as far as the district, we're
Well,
going
we haven't
backwards
used
fast.
any money out of our operation funds, we've only used it out of M&O so far, these IGT payments, that, what are we taking out of M&O? We've taken stuff where we've used the rent payments, we've used that 625, where, we've used payments that have been given to us plus our M&O to be able to fund this IGT, this big one coming up
That
in
money's done
September, that's
gone,
the
that
one that's
M&O
not
money
been
is
used.
long gone.
Andy, when you talk about M&O's funded this, who funded the M&O?
The
taxpayers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, but anyhow,
That money's long spent.
It's for,
It's
when
going back, though. That's what I-
it's for healthcare, you guys are acting.
It
like
hasn't
somebody's
had the
pulling your
chance to
pockets
come
or
back.
if you look back, you
It hadn't had the
we voted on most everything TMC proposed.
Shane, it'll never break
They were
even
making
that
this
way.
money.
It'll never come back enough to break
And we
even.
wasn't spending that money.
We're going backwards.
We'll see.
They were building up a bank account for themselves and us also. And we've ridden steadily, we went down the tubes. Looked like you just, one of these tubes that you go to the bank, you put your check in there and it goes whoosh. That's what we're doing, putting the check in there and it's going whoosh.
I wish you'd give it a little more time.
I do too.
You know, from what I can understand is that you guys have a real bitter taste in your mouth about a decision that was made from the hospital to turn it over to someone else to run.
You gotta
However,
figure, you gotta
hang
figure
on,
we
give
were
me,
making money.
give me due
Made
diligence.
pretty good
Let her
money.
talk.
So, that decision has been made, and whether you agree or don't agree with it, you can't go back. And although I think it's always good to think back and always question things, I don't think it's real fruitful to continually bring up things that can't be changed. I mean, because I think it's good to discuss it, but if all we do is rehash things that can't be redecided, I'm just not so sure that it's a real healthy thing as a board. And I think it will get in the way of us going forward.
I don't think anybody has rehashed anything about, so much about that. What I've talked about is from the time of the lease, what money was in the bank then. And then you throw in the accounts receivable that they got given to them. I'm talking about from then, that's been since December. Our bank account has went down several $1 million in our general fund, and the M&O is spent and gone.
But,
So,
I mean,
it
the
ain't
way
nothing to do
I look
about
at
the
it-
past. What I'm talking about is the future. If we keep going where we're going, the general fund, all of our accounts will be emptied and drained, and somewhere we got to put the brakes on.
Well-
And if we're gonna get ahead on this deal, that's fine,
But
but we ain't getting
the
ahead.
hospital, it's not like a static thing. It's
So
not
what
like
are we
we
gonna do when the
can,
money's gone?
it's not
You're not
like we
accounting
can
for
just
any money
grab
coming
all this
back in.
money today. We still have patients that need to be seen. We have, you know, and 'cause that's what we're here to do.
I agree
And
with
so I
that, but-
totally, I get what you're saying, but it's not like we can just hold on to this money in some bank account and not ever spend it and expect that that's gonna help us either.
So what are we gonna do when it's gone? Then what are we
You're
gonna do?
not-
Because that's
but
happened in the
you're not
past,
supposed
what,
to-
Jeff?
Yeah.
The big thing is not accounting for stuff coming in, and we gotta give it enough time to do that. We're only through 2 quarters. We're not even through our 3rd quarter yet, so as we
Went
go
downhill
through this
pretty
thing.
fast in 2 quarters.
Well, I
Are
understand
these
that,
things
but
that we projected that might
No.
happen?
absolutely.
Yep. Yep. And it's
So
in
are,
there.
I mean, are
It's
It's
we
that- And
on,
it's the budget we worked on with Jim in the last one.
That 4.1 up there was the budget that was approved in May, that we went through and showed what the
We'll
hospital's
break
gonna
even.
bring in, what the budget is, how much money we're gonna bring in, et cetera. So, just like Shane had mentioned, if we're positive, the first 2.5 million come back to us, this 1.39, we get 50% of the returns on that. That's greater than the 581. So, as it comes out, that may take 3 months to do. It's not gonna happen in 3 days. So, it's just a matter of making sure this thing happens, or ebb and flows to these quarters and make sure it goes. But Jimmy, I'm gonna tell you, I totally agree with you. We don't wanna see this thing go to zero. We get that. But we cannot ignore the fact that cash is coming in. It's just not gonna come in day for day. We're not gonna send out the IGT money and all come back in the next day. So it's gonna take a little time to do that.
Wait a minute, let me ask you this. If you borrowed $100,000, would you like to pay on the principal also at the time you was paying on the interest that you owe on that? Or would you just like to pay principal for 10 years and then finally get around to paying on the $100,000 principal?
well, I think you know how I would answer that.
I'm waiting for your answer.
Well, like any legitimate loan, you want to pay on principal plus interest, but I guess again, I'm brand new on this board, and so I have to just sit and listen. But one thing that I just listened to, I'm like, well, you know, are we where we said we would be? You know, and if we are, and this is the way that it's been projected to us,
If it
then I
was-
just think that we gotta have a little faith. You
If
know,
we
and
were-
if, but if you have no faith, then I understand that you'll never buy into it. And I don't know where I sit on that exclusively. I don't know that I have 100% faith.
Well,
But I certainly think that we have to listen and we have to look and we gotta give it the time that we told them we'd give it to.
If
you
we
know.
were doing exactly what was projected, we wouldn't be here tonight.
you know,
So,
what I'm
no,
trying
we're
to
not.
say to you is, the taxpayers are on the hook for the interest only for 10 years on this.
And then our
bond
children and
of
grandchildren stuck with the
$39.2
rest.
million.
Ken, that's wrong. I made a principal and interest payment.
We can't make a principal payment on it.
Yes, you do.
You just did.
Well, then why-
Annually, you
show me
make the
where it's going
payment.
down. Show me where it's going down, because if you go down to the tax office, our bonds are still at 39.2 million.
I just made the payment on 8/11,
You just-
and they
you made
signed
an
off
interest
on it.
payment? Did you make-
Interest and principal.
Okay,
It's not brought up that way.
okay, we've got to approve an amendment for the budget for additional IGT. I think we're getting way off course here. Do I have
I'll go down to the tax
a recommendation?
I make a motion that we allow up to the potential that Tom may need. So the 581.
Try 2.561. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Somebody second? Who's second? Someone second, okay. Further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? The, consider and approve the 2019-2020 insurance proposal. We have an issue, that Christie clarified the issue, and then we'll talk about it from there. We don't have a new insurance proposal at this time, and she'll tell you why.
Since y'all had some change in your coverage, it dropped us from being a large entity to a small entity. So when she submitted the proposal, it delayed us from getting new proposals, because now we're having to go to the smaller line for coverage. So with that delay, our policy still will expire on September 13th, 2019. So that is prior to our next board meeting. So y'all, I'm going to offer y'all a couple of options that we can do tonight. We can wait
So what
till our
does
next.
our district need to insure?
That's what I'm waiting for the proposals. So let me give you options. We can wait till our next board meeting, review all the proposals, y'all make a decision then, but it's gonna give you no coverage between the 13th and the 21st. It's not the one we really want. The second option is that you go ahead tonight and approve what is anticipated on your budget for that. When that proposal comes in, if it meets everything that we typically carry, that we go ahead and write our premium check, get it out there to them, we have coverage, we bring it back to our September 21st board meeting for our final approval. If y'all want changes, we can request that. If you want to drop a plan, we can drop the plan and we would get a refund on our coverage. That amount that y'all are anticipating budgeted that's been presented the last two meetings is $139,980. That is down from your prior year amount that you spent of $189,131. We are anticipating that it be lower than the 139, but we planned higher than, because we didn't know, because there were
So
going to be
what
new
does that
proposals.
cover?
I'm sorry?
What does that cover?
It's going to cover your property insurance, your D&O insurance. For your cyber, we're looking at purchasing a tel coverage because y'all no longer house electronic health information. Y'all don't have that responsibility. The hospital now has that policy for the computers for electronic health information. And then the last one would be for your professional liability for the tel coverage that y'all had purchased.
Is Tillman previous to that date?
I'm sorry?
Tail coverage.
Tel coverage it started from December 1st, and you have to purchase it for 7 years.
So it's protecting us for past.
It's protecting us for past.
What's the property insurance? That's
Your property right now is going to be your Lake Kiowa, because we're still getting that, even though we anticipate that it be gone, so that'll be a refund once we get that building sold. Your 817 North Grand, your 827 North Grand, because that is not underneath the lease agreements, and then your 1501 West Highway 82 property.
And you're asking for 100,000?
I'm asking for what y'all currently have budgeted, $139,980.
But it sounds like it's gonna come in a lot less than that.
I hope so, yes.
Plus a refund, because we'll have
We'll
liquidated.
get rid of Lake Highland, and if we move the house off of 1501, that'll drop it because we won't have property, we'll just have land coverage, so.
Further discussion? We have a recommendation, it's your pleasure.
A motion that we allow for Christie to negotiate with the insurance up to the budget amount.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Consider and approve a mid-year audit to replace the quarter audit and term current agreement. This is with BKD. One of the things that I asked BKD to do, and you'll find that under tab 5. I asked them to put something in for you guys, and so we could discuss, or at least just have it out here, if you wanted to have a mid-year audit, which would be up in about the May's time frame. I know it's been very important to always have that extra set of eyes that you want to have on things, and so we've got the end of the year coming up, September, where we're going to have our end of the year audit anyway, and that will be on tab 6. But I wanted to give you the option if you wanted to have them go and do something for the mid-year now, and that's what this first one under tab 5 is, and that's what that represents. And they would do that, and they actually show you the things that what they would do, and that is on the last page there.
Yeah.
So they would look at those. Just those particular areas, they would look at all of that and bring that back to us, and just to look it over. And of course, the cost on that is what they say, $5,000. And so I don't know what your desire. I wanted to make sure that you had the option to say, okay, we need something more than waiting till the end of the fiscal year. And if you want to wait, if you want to look at 6 at the same time, BKD has given us their regular, that's their yearly one that they usually put down for us every year, number 6, if you wanted to wait till the end of September, what your pleasure is. And
If we do a mid-year, will they give us a discount on the end of the year?
I don't think so.
Did we cover this in July? They said it'd be 7,500 or a little bit more, something like that?
Well, remember, we were doing quarterlies, but we stopped because there was some, during the transition, because of the timing, and they were looking at that anyway, of the transition, but we haven't had really any looking at it since maybe February.
We haven't seen an audit since this fiscal year.
Pardon me?
We haven't seen an audit this year.
Not given us anything since the end of, I think they looked at the end of November. They looked at November. We got that.
Since we don't have no hospital to audit, that ain't our worry no more.
Right.
I personally would love to see someone local do our audit. And there's people I'm sure local could. But what them guys are charging, we probably could save some money. Plus, it would keep the money locally, be spent locally instead of shipping it all out of town. And for all the stuff that they're gonna charge extra for what they do, I think someone local, like travel and all that, we'd save all that money. I would love to see someone local do our audit and get BKD and go with someone local and keep that money in our community.
As far as this line item here, as far as wanting a half-a-year audit, I think I would have been in favor of it had we been backwards and closer to the half year.
Yeah.
I feel like we're a month away from closing the year out anyway. I would be for just saving this money. We're a month away, we're gonna get a full audit anyway. I would be for it, at the 6-month mark because of all the money that's transacted between us and the hospital.
Especially-
All the AR we've had to move, I would feel good that somebody just double checked us all and make sure that everything lined up. But the one reason being, we're just a month away from closing the year books.
Wasted time.
So I'm saying save the money, let's close out the year and let's just let them do our annual audit.
Either the only way to approve,
We'll see
vote to
in
approve it at
November.
this point would be if they give us a discount at the end of the year to offset the cost, because we're gonna be into next year before they.
Well,
That's
Jimmy
right.
brings up a good point. Let's talk about it a moment. Should we?
We
should
could
we
get them
vote
to
for
do
bids
this
and
year,
work
but
with
we ought to
somebody
get somebody, I mean, if it ain't a month away, we'd still get them to do that, but we need to be looking for someone local.
I
I think
think
it saves a lot of
KD
money.
needs to be the one this year
Yeah.
because of the history. and because
I
of
think
all
you
the
let,
turnover.
Jimmy and I totally agree with you. I think we let BKD finish this year since, we've went December and all this.
But a month away, that ain't no problem, but I'm just saying next
But
year,
for
we
next
ought to
year,
find somebody
We'll have
local
time
to
to
save some money.
I'd be open to looking at it.
Looking for another one.
I just want them to finish what they've started and finish our years.
I agree with
Put it
you.
on the agenda for next meeting and let's
I'd like to
discuss.
see- I'd like
try
to
to
see
find
things
somebody.
done quarterly, local, like Jimmy's talking about, and come in here quarterly, where we can really keep a better eye on it, because 6 months, you can, like Jimmy said, once it leaves here, it goes down that tube, it's gone, so.
Well, one thing, if we do decide to change and do locally, I guess we want to make sure that that firm was very familiar with doing these type of audits, that,
And
you
I
know.
think that's what you'll find just from what I've researched PKD, that means this area we're working with,
I mean,
They're
I
big into a
don't
lot of
know, we may have
hospitals,
very
you're right,
well
Brenda.
qualified local people, but I suppose the person that would ask that, could answer that is the person that we ask, but I understand that this is, just reading through what they do, this isn't just a typical audit,
and
obviously.
as you're learning, these hospital books are, I mean, we're just a district now, but
Yeah, maybe,
maybe it'll be a lot simpler just
Right.
because we're a district book.
right.
I think we've got plenty of time to go research that and look at
Right.
that for the next year.
So, number 5, consider and approve mid-year audit to replace quarterly audit and current agreement. I
Make a motion, we table that.
table or just,
Second.
okay, just tabled it, and I've got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 6, consider and approve retained external auditor for the fiscal year 2019. Your motion on that, you want to stay with, you're asking to stay with the BKD for this audit?
I think it'd be prudent to, I make a motion, we keep BKD for the end of year audit.
Second.
Okay, motion and second again. And any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're down to number 7, consider and approve the proposed 2019 tax rate. Chris will give us a kind of a brief on that here.
Okay, last year your total adopted tax rate was the .1691. Your taxes raised a little over $5 million, which was used to fund your bond debt and your maintenance and operation. On the first slide, we're going to talk about your interest in sinking, which is your debt. So for this year, you have a debt that is $3,626,504. And that will include a interest and a principal payment in February and an interest-only payment in August of next year. So your taxable values increase.
Just the other way around, Chris, the interest payment in February, interest and principal.
Interest and principal in October. Okay,
So how
sorry.
much are we paying on the principal?
Give me just a second, I'll go over that. Your certified tax values increased again this year. And so if we do our 95% collection rate off of your taxable values, our suggested INS rate is .11, which is a decrease from last year's .1257. So just y'all remember that legislation states that y'all's INS has to have sufficient funds to pay your principal and interest on any bonds as they become due. Let's see, your debt.
So what was it last year? It's 111 now, what you want, asking for, what was it last year?
What was your, it was .1257.
No, I'm talking about the 111 cents per hundred.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm
What was it last
asking
year?
for this year. Last year was .1257 per hundred. You've decreased. So in February, your interest-only payment will be $1,103,251.
1 million what?
$1,103,103,251. Then your interest and your principal payment for the next one's gonna be a total of $2,523,251, with $1,420,000 being principal.
Maybe what, 4?
420. On your M&O, last year's rate was .0434. So based off the adjustable values, your suggested rate for your effective rate is .0402. So that's another decrease. Your rollback rate is .0434 as your second option. If you go with your second option, it will require 2 public hearings. So your total tax rate for using the effective and your interest and sinking is .1502, which is down from last year's total tax rate of .1691. So with these figures, you're raising approximately the same amount of money you raised last year. You have a decrease in the total tax value, but that's because your property values went up. It was a 9% increase from last year. So tonight, what I need is the board to recommend going with the effective rate or the rollback rate, so that way we can plan accordingly.
It's really good news.
Yes.
It shows you how much new construction we have in the county. Obviously, the tax man's raised some of our property taxes up some, but there's a lot of new valuations out there. For that to drop almost 2 cents was significantly better than I was expecting. So that's good news.
Yes.
How much are we bringing in on top of the property values increase at this rate, 1.5?
We'll bring in the
Your
same
your
amount.
projected is the 1.394, which is the same amount as last year.
That's same as last year.
How much did we actually bring in last year?
Right now, you're at 5.2 million in collections, and you're at 97.64% collection rate.
For the, no, we're at 5.
For total, for M&O and in interest and sinking, for your total
Oh.
tax rate.
We need all this to fund the IGT. Is that what this boils down to?
Yes.
Part of it.
That's all it is funding.
So, further discussion? You, one, we consider and approve, which, let's start with consider and approve, you want to make a motion to which one, just to go with the effective rate or the rollback rate, do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we go with the effective rate.
Your motion to go to the effective rate, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Dale, second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor with the effective rate, Shear, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to that?
All right.
Did I hear a no?
I don't know.
You want to go to, that's interesting, okay. Okay, so we have,
6 to 2.
okay. Okay, did I hear a motion to adjourn?
How much can we do?
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's get out of here.